Dr. Craig Manning here with the Fearless Mind. I want to profile this piece of research by Sean Archer, um, Positive Intelligence, Harvard Business Review. I love this piece of research. It may take a little time to break it down, but the more detail, the key to high performance. It's not about more, it's about breaking it down to the depth. This research first starts in July 2010. Burt's Bees. They're a personal care product company. I'm going to do a lot of reading in this just because I really want to capture the essence of this piece of research. Personal care products company was undergoing an enormous change as it began a global expansion into 19 new countries. Now, in this kind of high pressure situation, most business leaders become very anxious, very uptight, and they're always hammering. They're always kind of beating their managers and beating people down. Frequent meetings. Meetings are not my favorite thing in the world. Anybody that's worked with me would attest to that. Very much, I want to get in the application. I want to get busy doing it. Um, and so he talked about how most leaders in this situation would pester their employees with frequent meetings, a flood of inboxes with urgent demands. And in doing so, managers jack everyone up to, it just takes everybody's anxiety to a whole nother level. What activates the portion of the brain that processes threats. That's what, when we have high anxiety, it's activating the amygdala portion of the brain that processes threats. Now, the problem with that is when we are overutilizing the amygdala, when we activate the amygdala, it's stealing resources from the prefrontal cortex of the brain. Why this is so important is the prefrontal cortex is where we're processed, where we're thinking, where we're solving problems. In my mind, and how I apply that, how I see that, the prefrontal cortex is the conscious mind, the 10% of our brain that we need that capacity to be able to think and solve problems. Other research I've studied tells us that we can only really handle 2 to 3 things at one time in our prefrontal cortex. The problem is when we have high anxiety, we're using that space, we're occupying that conscious mind to have to fight. It's that fight or flight response. Hence, we can't think clearly. What happens to our efficiency when we're doing this? What happens to our productivity? And what ultimately is going to lead to our profitability? This is so important. If we're going to be business leaders, and this implies in athletics as coaches, we've got to allow that prefrontal cortex or the conscious mind, we need that to be free for people to think. In athletics, so many people think when we're in the zone, we're not thinking. That's not true. In the zone, we are thinking. We're not worrying. Worrying is that high anxiety where our mind's just spinning. So many people think that is why overthinking is bad. Yes, overthinking, but overthinking is worrying. It's not thinking. It's not strategic. It's not tactical. To me, thinking is very much needed if we're going to perform at our best in athletics. And it's very much needed in business to solve problems, to come up with solutions. Thinking is solution based. Worry is everything of what not to do. We're already at 3 minutes and 40 seconds, so we need to pause. I want you to keep that in your mind. We always want to be thinking and not worrying. We need to use that energy, the prefrontal cortex, to solve problems.